Well, hello everyone, my name is Edward and welcome to EthiVegan. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to the one and only Amanda Ellis. Welcome, Amanda, how are you?
Hi Edward, I'm very well, thank you, and it's lovely to be here with you.
No, it's great because you actually put a post on this morning in Facebook about my book, which is like, really excited. I was like, I've got some books sold, so thank you so much for that.
I just think it's a fantastic book that you've written, and it actually deserves to be out there on a much wider basis. So I was really pleased to do that, and I'm really happy that people are buying it, as they should be. It's a wonderful mix of many different subjects.
Thank you. Now,
I'm also going to make, sorry, I must just say, I'm also going to make your pomegranate burgers.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. You'll have to tell me how it all goes, really. That's really exciting. Oh, wow. Now then, you've actually, before we actually spoke today, you've actually picked 3 cards for us to discuss. And I think that'll be really nice for you to just introduce those cards to us and who you are.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, my name's Amanda. Those of you that don't know me, I work with the energy of angels and colours in particular, and my main guide is Archangel Metatron, but I guess I'd class myself as a spiritual teacher. That's what we all are though, really, isn't it? We're all teaching each other. And yeah, Edward, I bought myself a new deck of cards over the weekend. I will just say who it's by. It's always nice to credit people. Vision Quest. Okay, Vision Quest by Gay and Winter. And I chose, well, I didn't choose, 3 cards came out for us, and this is a collective message, okay? And I think they sum up maybe how a lot of people are feeling at the moment. So we've got the card of stress. Okay, if I put that up to the camera, you can see that. So it's the 5 of fire, the card of stress. We've got the card of 5 of earth, insecurity. So that's another 5 energy. And then we've got one which talks about inner order. Okay, so to me, when I saw those, it really felt as though there was a message that lots of people are feeling tense, anxious, insecure. If you look at the picture here, it just feels as though it feels a bit of sort of desolation. It's sort of an image of desolation. And the question, I guess, is what do we do about that if we're in those sort of emotional states? And I think this card, the card of inner order, is really just saying that we're entering a time where we have to get our inner house in order. We have to try somehow to find peace amidst what are very stressful collective times, but also in people's individual lives as well. You know, we know, don't we, that a lot of people are struggling for all sorts of reasons at the moment. So it felt as though those cards were sort of like a call to the spiritual soul of people maybe that are watching this. And actually, I always look at the card on the bottom of the deck as well. The card on the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Fire, okay? So it's like a fiery arrow. And that to me is just sort of, it would be my guide Metatron really just saying, like, it's time to get your house in order and start to work on, you know, what brings you peace, what brings you stability, and maybe work on some of your emotional wounds that are causing these stresses and insecurities in the first place. And, you know, But
I think it's also about actually realizing that everything starts from within. So if we have anxiety or we're feeling stressed, it's about actually listening to our inner voice and actually learning to love ourselves in a way that is nourishing, and also forgiving ourselves for things that perhaps, you know, have caused us stress.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of judgment out there that we should be doing certain things, we should be behaving in certain ways. We judge the past, we judge ourselves when we do something that we don't like. And if we could only just soften down a little bit in terms of ourselves into our own heart space and not be so judgmental, I think that world would be an awfully lot of a happier place, and we would be happier as well. But we all judge, don't we? It seems to be like a cancer in our midst, I think. And
but it's also the judgment is also about thinking. Okay, so if we move from a space of thinking to heart centric space. We're actually
Yes.
we're not thinking about what other people are doing. We're actually moving to space to the heart, and the heart then is the space where the emotion flows, and that emotion of love for ourselves and others comes transcending out.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the problem is that most people have put great big barriers up around their heart because they've been hurt. Whether they've been hurt in this life, whether they've been hurt in a previous life. And it's really about dissolving those barriers so you can actually even learn about what is within your heart. What is your heart actually trying to say to you? And you know, that's where your inner voice is, that's where your soul resides, that's where you can connect to the angels or anything else that you believe in. And so many people come to me and they sort of talk about, well, how do I connect into myself, or how do I connect into the angels? And it's just because they're all up here in their headspace. You know, it's like, give me the tool, give me the technique, tell me the ABC of what to do. And really, as you know, Edward, it is as simple as just sinking away from this into the heart space. And not getting away from it, but you know, yeah.
And you know, the wonderful thing is actually, for me, it's also listening to the inner guidance, inner messages. For example, I know that around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I get these messages that come through. It's like, Edward, like, yeah, what now? What do you want me to do now? You got to write this poem. It's like, okay, so write this poem. And that's when the messages come through, and it's almost like, if I don't do it, then I'm damned if I don't. But if I do, then all gifts come streaming out. I mean, for example, this morning, 6 o'clock this morning, I woke up and I had 2 poems in my head, and I just had to write. And it was just like, okay, I'm going to do that. So it's about listening to that inner voice.
Just ask you a question here that interests me, because a lot of people get these inspirations, as you say, in the middle of the night or something, but it's actually not very convenient. Do you think you could actually have a word with spirit and in all seriousness, and actually say, you know, could I not get my downloads of information I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning or something? Because
absolutely.
I do think we can have this dialogue with spirit, and I think a lot of people forget that. And also another thing that comes up a lot is people maybe get frightened because they get their signs that spirit are around them in the middle of the night. And let's be perfectly honest, if I woke up today at 3 o'clock in the morning and I see an angel standing in front of my bed, I would freak out because I'm not expecting to see it at that time. So what I always say to the angels is, please give me the signs when I'm awake, you know, when I'm conscious, when I'm ready for it. So, I mean, that's just something to discuss, really. I'm not saying I'm doing it right, but it's something that I sort of usually say to people, you know, it's a two-way communication with angels and with spirit. And if it's not convenient for you to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start writing poetry, you know, just sort of say, well, can we nudge it forward a few hours? You know?
Ironically, this is what happened yesterday. So yesterday morning, I woke up at 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Speaking to my clairvoyant last night, and she was saying, actually, why don't you say to spirit, send your downloads in the morning?
Yeah.
So last night I thought I've got to sleep through because I'm otherwise really tired for work, and so the downloads came at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I think
okay. So I isn't it interesting? So I've virtually repeated the same message.
Yes.
What do they say? You get the message 3 times. You're supposed to really, you know, take notice of it. So you'll probably get your 3rd message tomorrow.
Probably. Now the other thing about living in alignment is about actually following your purpose and your passion, and also realizing that we, as multi-dimensional, 5th dimensional and higher dimensional beings, we are multi-talented, and we have so many talents to offer, not just one. How do you feel about it?
It's something that I've been thinking of myself recently, because I think we all box ourselves in to just being good at maybe 1 or 2 things. And I think particularly, you know, in Britain, where I've grown up, there is this consciousness out there that if you if you're too good at too many things, people start to think, you know, who do they think they are? And that doesn't fit with the 5D consciousness, which is about expansion into our greater self. But I think we've all got a bit of programming that we actually need to let go of, which is that, you know, it's okay to be good at one thing. I mean, think about school. Think about school. You know, whoever liked the child that was top of the class, usually they were, you know, it's like, oh, you're the swot. It's that sort of energy, isn't it, that we just need to get away from.
That's conditioning. That conditioning that we get from early childhood, that you can only be good at one thing.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true at all. We of us have the ability to do, and this is my view, have the ability to excel in whatever we're passionate about. And excel with such beauty and actually do things. And it's like, I know for me, when I moved from that mindset of actually being good at one thing to actually doing all the things I want, and also the other thing to realize, practice. Now, for me, you know, I started doing talks, public speaking a couple of years ago. And I remember my first talk. I think I was really nervous, and now it's like, get me in front of a crowd. I want to talk in front of a crowd. I've got things to talk about, and it's like,
can't stop you now. No, but it's a really good point that you mentioned, because why don't we try lots of different things? Why don't we think that we can do lots of different things? It's because we're frightened. It's because we've got so much fear, and it's breaking through that fear, you know, and stepping into our, without wishing to sound too new agey, but it's about stepping into our I am essence, our divinity, basically. And we all shy away from that, you know, but it's like, time is here where we've just got to do it. It's so important, but it's feel the fear and do it anyway, isn't it? You know, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be when you try something new. And then, hey, you might actually just discover that you love it and you're very good at it as well. I also think, Edward, it's important to say that it's also nothing wrong with failing, you know? There's nothing wrong with trying something and discovering you're not particularly good at it. You know, that's what stops people, I think, most of the time. They think they're not going to be good at something, but, you know, you've got to try. You've got to try things.
And also, failing isn't failure at all. It's actually the route to success, because by trying something and having tried it and realised, actually, that didn't particularly work, you can then refine that. You know, and I think that's certainly important to realise, actually, I'm maybe not good at this, but maybe it's going to lead to something else. I know that I had my own law firm in the city, and that closed down, and for me that wasn't a failure. That was actually a lesson for me, and I know that the next business or business venture, those lessons that I learned will help me in that. How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, nothing is ever lost in life, is it? Nothing is ever lost. And I'm a great believer in, you know, whatever you move on from, you always take the talents, the skills, the abilities that you've learned in that last phase of life with you. Whether that be from a relationship that's maybe gone wrong, whether it's from a job that hasn't worked out, whether it's from an old career that you've said goodbye to. You know, I'm similar to you in that I came from a corporate background. And I do remember when I said goodbye to that career, sort of 20 odd years ago, thinking I was going to somehow lose all of the experience that I had invested in. You know, I was good at it. And of course, what you discover is that skills that you had, you just transfer them over into your new thing, whatever that thing is. And for me, it was about, you know, being able to talk to people, I don't know, do workshops, that type of thing. And nothing was lost. It's like you take the best of what you learned from the previous thing and just plant it into the new and make something even better. You know, that's my view on it.
But also from that perspective, by doing that, actually we as multi-dimensional, multifaceted people, we're able to not move in a linear fashion. But life actually isn't linear. It isn't linear. It's actually it's almost like a snake and ladders game that you play,
Yeah.
and you move up, and then you come down,
Yeah.
and you go back up. And it's almost those lessons that we learn through failures and through success make us much more rounded, much more whole.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you're touching on there as well is that sometimes you have to take a risk. If you think about the snakes and ladders board, you know, you can sometimes fall all the way down the snake, but, you know, on the next bit of the board, there might be a ladder that takes you way past where it was, you know, to start with.
Exactly.
You've got to take the risk. You've got to take the risks in life.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier to do, coming back to how we started, it's easier to do when you've got your house in order, you know? When you have, it is, isn't it though, you know? When you've got the open heart, when you're in your power, you've worked on your own fears, you've done some healing on yourself, and, you know, you're not perfect, none of us are perfect, but it's just, you're on your path, you're on your path. And the path is about discovery.
Now I want to talk about perfection, because for me, leading your perfect life is actually about acceptance. It's accepting that actually everything that comes our way, whether it's good or bad, and we don't have a judgment on it, by not placing a judgment and placing it in the space of experience. So from a duality, third dimensional perspective, we say it's good or bad. From a different fifth dimensional perspective, it's actually not good or bad, it's experience. And if we move into that space of experience, then we view life as just throwing things at us, and it's like, this is perfect. Actually, this is absolutely perfect at this moment in time, because we're accepting that. I think that for me is really the way that life, you know, and that's how I view life now. It's like, actually, this is great. This is fantastic. Even though from a third dimensional perspective, it's probably bad, but actually something good is going to come out of it.
Yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying. I mean, acceptance is a huge subject, and absolutely we have to get to a state of acceptance. But the other thing I wanted to just throw into the mix, as it were, is the whole thing about duality, you know, because I work a lot with the light and the dark. You know, the whole Metatron energy is about understanding the light in the dark, that within the darkness there is light, and vice versa. And, you know, if you really go down that path of, you know, trying to understand duality, you can look at any situation, you can look at any person, including the people in the world who really trigger you, you know, maybe they do look on the surface quite dark, but there's always going to be light within there, you know. I mean, I within my work, I sometimes veer into looking at world leaders, which is a bit of a, sometimes be a bit of a viper's nest. I'll go in there where other people fear to tread. The point is, what I'm actually trying to do is I'm just trying to take anybody on the world stage, including the ones that some people see as villains, without naming names, and it's just, let's look at them as a human being. You know, these are just human beings, and they're a mixture of good and bad, light and dark, like all of us. And most people don't want to look at that, because they just want to, again, we're back to trying to just box things in, you know, you're good or you're bad, you're light or you're dark, and we're all a mixture of all of it, you know. So I just think it's a very deep subject, isn't it, you know, that which we're veering into.
Yeah,
that resonant.
Yeah, but the other thing is that all these leaders on the world stage have a purpose. They're showing us aspects of ourselves externally which resonate with us internally. Isn't that how you feel, or what?
I missed the first bit of that, Edward. Can you just say it again?
What I was saying is that these world leaders on the world stage have a purpose. And that purpose, and what resonates with us and what triggers us, is actually a reflection of what's going on within us as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely believe that. And it's, you know, what we are triggered by is what we have still to heal within ourselves. And sometimes we'll look at a quality of somebody else and we'll judge it, And it's so easy to point the finger, but actually, you know, look at your own stuff. Look at where you hold whatever it is that you're judging. And it's the whole thing about mirroring, isn't it? And that's really true. But equally, you know, without always talking about the dark, it's also about noticing somebody amazing out there in the world and thinking, wow, I also have some of that within me as well, because I'm noticing that. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they actually said to me, they said, I've started to realize that I'm attracting a lot of people who are, in commas, of better quality. What they meant by that was better people, nicer people, higher vibrational people, not judging people below, but just, you know, they were a more loving, open-hearted friendships that were coming into their life. And I said, yeah. And I said, that's because you have that within you. You know, they are just reflecting the inner work that you've done.
And resonating as well, resonating with that particular energy. And I think that's the other thing that I'm finding is that I mean, certainly for me, is that as I move into a different space, I'm attracting those people that resonate with me. And it's just really funny how my circle of friends have changed, or those friends that I'm more in tune with. Certainly I've got old friends that, you know, my ex and my best friend, and those friends that will always be there. But it's almost like there's a new wave of people. For example, we know Helen Greenway. I mean, amazing.
Hello, Helen.
Like, what is going on? Do you think?
Yeah, exactly. You know, you reached out to me. I didn't know you. I feel like I've met an old friend now. I said that to you at the start. But yeah, we've got this mutual friend in common. We didn't realise that. So it's a small little world, really. But you are right. There are friendships that are dropping away as well. You know, people who we just are not resonating with. And that's fine. You know, it's important to make way for new people to come into our life as well. But I just think it's a natural process. I don't think nothing ever has to be said. The people aren't meant to walk the new path with you or the next chapter of your path. They just sort of disappear. You know, it's sort of, I've never had to say anything to anybody that, you know, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be friends anymore. It's just been a case of natural parting of the ways. And then, as you say, new people coming in who resonate with you on a much, much deeper level. And that's exciting, isn't it? You know?
It's exciting.
Yeah.
No, the other thing is you do, we were supposed to meet at one stage, but you had because I invited you to my birthday party, but you had something on. How did that go? You had a course on or something?
I was in, where was I? I was in Bristol, I think. I was doing a workshop on archangels, that's right. And I said to you I needed to be on good form, didn't I? So I couldn't go to the party the night. Yeah. I'll come to your next party though. I'm sure it was good fun. Yeah, I was doing a workshop in Bristol on archangels, and I'm going to Dublin next month. Dublin, yeah, which is a beautiful place, beautiful part of the world. So doing a Metatron workshop there in June, and then I'm off to America and Canada later on in the year. So, you know, these opportunities that are opening up for me though, Edward, it's all come about through just sticking to my path, really, and also sometimes there's been failures on that path. It's certainly in the early days. I say this to so many of my students. It's like, it's okay to fail. It's okay to, I always remember, this was years ago, before I started doing readings and sessions with people, and I went and I got invited to go to a shop and do readings there every Friday. And I used to traipse in, and no one would ever come and see me. Nobody ever wanted a reading. It didn't matter, Edward, because what it was about was just getting myself out of the front door to believe that I could do it. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I never viewed it as a failure. I obviously didn't carry on with it, but I learned from it. And it was actually, in a weird way, it helped me with my confidence, because even though people weren't coming, I had got out of the door and I had taken myself seriously, you know. And then the lesson didn't repeat. The lesson did not repeat. Then I went somewhere else and people did start to come in. But it's that whole thing that the opportunities that are coming in now, they've come in on the back of a lot of work and also sometimes some failures as well. But I think the path is just to keep going, you know, to believe in yourself, believe in what you do. And if you're passionate about it, I really believe usually it comes good.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
I started a recipe blog about it in 2013.
Yeah.
2013, and it's been going about 5 years, and it's been, and you know, first it started off really small, and it's still, you know, I think for me, I never knew that this was going to be my pathway. And you know, within 2 years, I became chair of the Vegan Society.
Yes.
And then I went on the speaking circuit, and now this year I'm speaking in Bali, and it's like, wow, I'm speaking in Bali. It's just like, yeah, and then speaking again in Berlin. So all these opportunities have come about because of perseverance. Is actually continuing with it, and even though we may not think of it, we're not being successful, we don't think we're achieving anything, the whole purpose is actually just continue on, and then life brings in beautiful gifts, you know, and that's the thing. You know, who would have thought that I would have been on this, you know, path where I'm doing interviews with people, magnificent people like you, or doing recipes, or writing books. Or even writing. Last year, it's really funny. My clairvoyant said to me, Edward, oh, she said, Edward, you know, you could, if you wanted to, write a whole book of poetry.
Yeah.
Like this year, something happened, and suddenly I started writing poetry.
Yeah.
I wrote my first poetry book, and last week I've started writing my second poetry book. So it's all these gifts, all this inspiration, and it's about listening to.
It's about listening, but also you're acting on it. You know, as I act on it, it's sort of like, I think sometimes people get ideas, and then self-sabotage comes in. Self-sabotage comes in, and you get the idea, but you don't follow it through. I can't state enough how important I think it is just to follow through, and as you say, to persevere. I mean, I've got Saturn sitting up on my midheaven, so you know, Saturn is the one that just like keep going, keep persevering. You'll get there in the end. But actually, thank God for Saturn, because that is what is required, I think, to just. It's not about success either, Edward. It's just about living a life which you enjoy and it's fruitful and brings rich experiences in. I mean, you're talking about going to Bali. I'm off to a powwow in Canada.
Oh wow! What is a powwow?
Well, I think it's a meeting of Indigenous elders, you know, and music and dance, and
I want to go. Pack me in your suitcase now.
But, you know, I'm doing that, and you know, when these things come in, you just think, well, the other thing that comes up here now is gratitude, in all seriousness, because the opportunities come in, but then it's stepping into deep gratitude, because I think that's a really important part of it all as well, to stay humble, to be grateful, and to follow your path. And it's almost, what I'm hearing is, it's like that's basic etiquette, you know, it's basic spiritual etiquette. So it's all good.
It's been really funny because my inspiration has more recently been heart-centric in the sense that I get really emotional. So yesterday, I remember I was teaching. A child came from school, and I was reading with me. And as the child was reading with me, it was just like, I got really emotional. It's like, oh my goodness, this is a child reading with me. And it's like, oh my God, I was nearly in tears. I was like, gosh. So what was the child like?
What was the child like? Were they affected by your reading?
I don't know. No, well, they were reading, and they were reading to me. But
I see. Okay.
But I was getting really emotional because I was questioning them and going through it, and it was like, oh my goodness, this child has got vulnerabilities, you know, has got difficulties in reading, and it was that sort of space, and it's actually feeling things. I think that's the thing about being in the fifth dimension, is actually feeling things, and actually.
Well, that child, I mean, you've got an open heart anyway, but that child had opened your heart even more. And I think that's what children do. And children are just the most amazing teachers as well. And, you know, not just the young ones, I've got teenagers as well. I've got two teenagers, and, you know, they're your greatest teachers. They really are, these kids, including when they press your buttons as well, not just on the, you know, the nice stuff where your heart's being opened and, you know, it's just beautiful. Also in the moments where you're just like, oh my God, you know, it's difficult. But in those moments, there's just such rich teaching. But I'm also enthralled to these crystal kids that are here, you know. I mean, I hear stories, you know, people tell me, but I've also got one in my own home. You know, she goes to sleep with crystals under her pillow, little affirmations slip under her pillow. I haven't told her to do that. She just instinctively knows it, you know, and she's not alone. There's lots of kids like that. And I think you look at that and you just think, we are going to be okay. we will be okay.
Okay. But the other thing that's coming up for me is in terms of what's going on, because obviously you've got the indigo children, and now you've got a wave of crystal children that are coming in, that are the future, you know. Indigo's coming in as the warriors and being the forerunners, and the crystal bringing the love and the light and the unconditional love that's coming in now. I don't know whether you see.
I think I do see it like that. In fact, I see us a bit as spearheads. I've got this. You see this crystal here? Like we're a spearhead. But you know, someone's got to do that. But the thing is, being the spearhead can sometimes be a bit challenging as well, because you're going into places where people haven't been before, and having to say things that sometimes rock the status quo. But there's a whole army coming in behind, you know, these kids and younger generation, and particularly, you know, what you're involved with veganism and changes in diet and food. They just seem to get it, you know. They get it in a way that older generations, you know, I'm 50, so, you know, we can be a bit stuck in our ways. But the young kids. Are you?
I was 50.
Wow. Okay. Wow, I'm impressed. You're looking good.
You're looking good as well. You're looking excellent. My goodness gracious me.
But you think, though, Edward, that in all seriousness, that working with the energy of light, which is what we do really, it keeps you young. I do. I really do. I think because at the end of the day, light is life. Think about the story of creation, and then there was light. You know, from the void there was light. And any healing modality, really, you're dealing with the energies of light. And especially I'm a colour therapist, so colour is light, you know, and I think it keeps you looking young. I'm sure you're the same. If you write your poems, you might notice this, but when I've done a healing or I've done any channeling, probably after I've come off from speaking to you here, I'll look in the mirror and it's like you can see the light that's in your eyes, basically.
Oh my goodness! Oh my God! This weekend is really funny. I was looking in the mirror and there was light coming through, and I was thinking, that's the other change that's happened. It's like the soul is talking to me. And I look in the mirror and I was thinking, where did that come from? It's almost like the higher self is now here. The higher self is online.
I like that. That's the title to a new book.
Your book or my book?
No, I think it's your book. I'm just giving you another book to write now. But that's a great line. I love that. That's exactly what it is. You can see your soul. I mean, we know we can see somebody's soul in their eyes anyway. But when you are directly working with spirit, with angels, as I say, whatever it is you believe in, if you've got that direct connection, you can see it in somebody's eyes as well as their heart. So, but I'm a great one. You know, we can't just ignore the mind. The mind is important as well. You know, but we're entering the age of the heart, aren't we? So.
We are. Now we've only got a couple of minutes left, 2 or 3 minutes left. So you picked 3 cards today.
Yes.
And I think we should just wrap up with those 3
enough.
cards. And what we've learned today, because today you and I were just talking. We didn't have anything planned. It was just let's just have this conversation about whatever.
Been highly enjoyable, and actually, you know, isn't that the vibration that we're supposed to be stepping into? The vibration of joy. So yeah, we've got the energy of the Lovers, which is actually, no, but that's the energy of choice as well, okay? We've got the Medicine Woman, and we've got the Son of Air. So to me, I actually want to put the Lovers with the Medicine Woman, because the Medicine Woman is like the shamanic energy. You know, she's the elder, she's the teacher, and maybe we have a choice whether we step into that or not. That's how I'm reading that card. I always read the cards intuitively. I don't sort of go with traditional meaning. And the Son of Air, there we go, that's us. We're on the horse. We're riding off. We've got our...
Into the distance.
Yeah, into the distance. I don't know. I just feel the energy feels very alive. You know, I think what we've really been talking about today has just been about staying in flow, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, but we
do staying in alignment, actually moving to that flow and just going with it, just running with it. And that's what the third card shows. You know,
look at the card, yeah.
Look at the card. It's just like getting that spirit and just going for it. Almost. The
other thing I will say before we run out of time, because I think it's really important, I'm a great one for mixing modalities, because I love the fact that we've got the shamanic energy here, sort of mixed in with, you can see all my pictures of angels behind me. And I really think it's important that we merge different worlds. There's no separation in the spiritual kingdom between, you know, nobody talks to anybody else. They're all working together, you know, which is the merging of faiths, isn't it, and beliefs and tolerance. So I think these cards as well reflect that. They reflect a merging of energies. But yeah, this is a great one to end on, isn't it? This is us. Yeah. It's all of us basically just going for it, you know, going for it with the energy of fire. And fire is about that motivation and doing it, you know. So yeah.
Good. So
really out of time, aren't we?
We are out of time, but I am so grateful to you, and I'm going to finish the recording in just now. But Amanda, Ellis, you've been magnificent today, and I've really enjoyed having our chat today. It's just been awesome. It's like, wow. I mean,
I've enjoyed it too. And I think you've got to send me a postcard from Bali, and I'll send you a postcard from Powwow, yeah?
Oh, that sounds good. I think you need to send me some of your sprays, aren't you? As well?
I'm going to send you some of the sprays, yeah. Yeah, I make the sprays, so I'm going to tune into which ones I think might be nice for you.
Yeah, but that's great. So thank you so much, Amanda. And
pleasure. Thank you.
Hopefully we will have a conversation soon, and we'll meet up soon. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wherever spirit takes us, we'll
that's the truth. Thank you very much for having me. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.